Welcome to a YouTube exclusive. I am joined here by our wonderful friend, not Jay Fiedler, Kevin Fielder. That joke will never get old to me. Kevin, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I'm glad I could be the backup quarterback to the pod one more time.
I feel like you're always the backup quarterback. I feel like anytime Brett and I miss, it's just, all right, we know Kevin's going to be
at this point, it's just like, all right, well, one of them's missing. Where's Kevin?
Yeah, I was left to start the show tonight. I was left to control the stuff. It's a little scary being on this side too. But yeah, Brett, I believe is off somewhere fighting with Carpet Dinosaur. You know, he's always he is now the lead scoops person for the Miami Dolphins, apparently.
I still some things about like football Twitter will never make sense. The fact that there's a guy named Pretty Ricky who's like the most famous Scoops.
Is that
guy.
Ricky Scoops?
Yeah, Ricky Scoops. And his profile picture is a dog. Is like as accurate as Adam Schefter half the time. And then for the Dolphins, it's a guy whose name is Carpet Dinosaur, because that just makes total sense for a sport that makes a lot of sense across the board.
Yeah, Carpet Dinosaur has been a friend of the show since day one. He's also the manager, social media person for the dive bar now. Although I think he quit during the Super Bowl. Yeah, he's a fun guy, and he. I don't know if I feel safe calling him the official mascot of the pod, but he's definitely a friend of Brett's, and Brett.
I feel like he's up there as friend of the pod or mascot of the pod, whatever we're calling him.
Yeah, but we gave our 2-minute plug to our resident dinosaur, our resident dog toy. But we're going to move on to why we're here on YouTube. There is a new feature. I guess it's not really brand new at this point. On StickToTheModel.com, which is for the list. That's where we do mock drafts. We do a lot of mock drafts, and they're all through there. But they released be a GM feature where you can control free agency, the draft, and everything involved in the offseason, including trading. So, Kevin, we're going to hop on and play around with it a little bit. Have you had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I've used it a couple times, and the guy who made it knows that like the beginning values were really bad. Like he said that multiple times. And yes. The one thing that I love about it is that he's constantly updated it, right? Like you used to be able to trade Tua for like a 7th round pick easily. And it would be like the easiest thing in the world to just get rid of Tua's contract. Now it's like actually a challenge. Now you have to build around the fact that the contract is there and you have to figure out a way off of it. So I think it is actually like a really good tool in general to be able to have a tool like this where fans, much like mock draft simulators, right, can just play through scenarios. And they're never going to be 100% accurate because it's really hard to predict what 32 different people who run football organizations are going to do. But it's better than not having anything, right? And having to go like over the cap simulator, which I use more often than not. And like the cap calculator be like, all right, how do we get to like $30 million in cap? Which I've probably tried like 10 different times.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head where the biggest thing that I love about this tool is he's constantly evolving it. He's constantly tweeting out updates he's making to it. And he's interacting with people. And when people have suggestions or way to improve it, like it really feels like I know he's building it. But I think that it's really growing because of the way that people have gotten involved, and it's only going to get better. So what we run through tonight, I mean, even if you look 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, there are going to be things adjusted and added to it. So I'm excited to get into this.
Me too, because, man, I've tried to run this Dolphins simulation like 10 different times. And every time I feel like I had to put a completely different roster.
Yeah, absolutely. So as people know, if you go down to NFL Draft, that's where you get to the normal mock drafts. I go up here through, I believe it's teams, and then you can click be a GM mode right there, and it takes you to it. Surprise, surprise to everyone. We are going to be the Dolphins, and we are near the bottom in the available cap space, but we're about to change that.
I feel like we have to.
So the first thing, yeah. I think legally, based on the rules of the NFL, we're not allowed.
Yeah, I don't think we could be at -16 for the entire offseason. So
yeah. But the first thing you can do here is manage the cap. And I think that this is going to be an area for Dolphins fans that is the most important. Because you have a couple really key players. I think there's 4 big ones. I think it's Tua, Tyreek, Chubb, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think those are the 4 players that it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with those. And we're going to get down because I think there are a couple very obvious cuts as you move down the list a little bit. But specifically Tua, Tyreek, Chubb, Minkah, you get 2 post-June 1 cuts. You may look to trade a couple of them. But where do you see, first of all, and we'll take them one at a time, the elephant in the room, what do you think about Tua? Pre-June 1 puts us in a really tough position. Post-June 1 gives us a little more leeway, especially this season. Puts a little damper on next season. Or do you think that there's a trade market for our teams like former quarterback?
The way I see it, truthfully, is that I don't think there's a trade market. I know that there's been reports that they're looking to trade him and that they want to try and find a partner in place. But when you look at the available teams, I don't see any of them taking on to his contract.
They're
either going to be really missing on the 2027 draft, which looks like one of the best quarterback classes we've seen in a while. And the Dolphins want to get involved in that as well. Like, let's be clear, that's likely why they're in this position of like, maybe it's a 1-year reset. But like, I've looked at the teams, the Jets, I don't think you trade them in division unless they really want them, which I have my doubts. The Colts, I think that they're going to ride with Daniel Jones, or they're going to figure out another solution. The Falcons, I just don't see the Falcons going after Tua after getting rid of their Kirk Cousins contract. That feels like
the only argument I've heard for the Falcons, and I don't think it's a good one, is that if they want to go with another Kirk Cousins type route of having like 2 decent quarterbacks, having 2 lefties is better than having a lefty and a righty.
Maybe. And I think that's like probably the only way that a trade works with Atlanta. But the truth is, like, this Tua contract is bad.
Yes.
It's one of the worst contracts in football right now. And it's one that's only has implications in the future, right? Because you'd love to cut him pre-June 1st, eat the dead cap, and figure it out in 2027. But if you cut him, you have a $99 million cap hit. Look, I'm just going to be honest. The cap's at like 305 or whatever this year, or even higher. That's a third at least. Like, that's about a third of your cap space being used on a guy who's not going to be a part of the roster.
I'll say I was originally, let's eat it right now. Let's just get it over with. I've played around with this model a lot, as we've talked about, and cutting him pre-June 1 makes it hard to even field a team next season.
Yeah.
It makes it extremely difficult to even get to the point where you're cap compliant for next season.
The way I've seen it is like the number in my head for the Dolphins is around 30 million. Of like, I want to get to about 30 million in available cap space that we can use on signing draft picks, that we can use on free agents where we backload the contracts because we have a lot of cap space in 2027 and beyond, and have some leftover cap for the season. Because everyone, I think, kind of operates in this idea that like the money in the offseason is the money. And like, you need rollover cap. You need cap for the season because you're going to make moves. You're going to make free agent signings before, the regular season begins. You're going to have injury problems. You're going to need money for the season as well. And so if you like head into a mind, like my mindset is like 30 million is probably the perfect place to be. If you cut Tua, you can't get to 30 million unless you completely gut the roster. And if you completely gut the roster, you have to then replace those players. Like, you need to get to a point where like you're not fielding a team of undrafted free agents because you decide to eat the dead cap for a year. Because I know everyone wants to say that like, oh, the Dolphins will be tanking. Every indication I've gotten from Jeff Hafley and Jon-Eric Sullivan tells me they don't want to tank. Tells me they're not in a position where they want to bottom out for a year, tank, and figure it out from there. The way I see it, I think it's more of this buzzword has been used in like the Viking space a lot with Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell. To me, it's more of a competitive rebuild. You're going to try and remain competitive, but you're also going to try and get younger. And if you don't win in year 1, that's fine. but you're not going to try and bottom out, go 0-17 and get the number 1 overall pick. And if that happens, great. You get the best quarterback, or you get your pick of the best quarterback in the class. But the truth is, right, I think the only option for the Dolphins is to cut him post June 1st and eat the dead cap. And it's going to suck that you have to eat the dead cap in 2027 and beyond, but that's just kind of the situation you're in. The good news is the Dolphins, I think, even with cutting him post June 1st, can still have over like $150 million in open cap space. So this is not a position where the 2027 offseason is going to be one where we're saddled by a Tua contract because we decide to cut him. But you're not keeping him on roster. And if you're not keeping him on the roster, we got to get rid of him by any means necessary.
Yeah, and I think that the competitive retool or rebuild that you said, like, look, I think the past Miami Dolphins, people think that it's black and white. You're either going all out or you're tanking and rebuilding. It's before it was, we're just going to keep trying to put duct tape on this and topple bad contract after bad contract, and eventually it's going to catch up to us, and it has caught up to us. Now it's about, okay, what do we have to eat? What damage is done? And then how do we stay competitive? And I think that you're right. I think that the only option, unless there's a team out there that thinks that they can make something work, I guess, but I don't see it. I think the other teams, I think Pittsburgh's probably headed to run it back with Rodgers. I think the Raiders are just going to have Mendoza. I think that I'm looking if there's anybody else. The only other team that I saw is Arizona, but do you want to trade for Kyler Murray?
Also, like, a trade for Kyler Murray is going to just saddle your cap again. You're going to be in the same situation with just a different quarterback, right? And like, the other place that kind of is interesting is Minnesota, because it feels like they're not going to just ride with JJ McCarthy. They're going to have another option, and Frank Smith is there. And so if Frank Smith is a supporter of Tua, which we don't know if he is either way, maybe there's a spot there. But even then, I don't see them taking on the contract. I see them going into free agency and adding a different option to try and like give him competition, but I don't see them going all out for a quarterback like Tua right now. And that's just the situation of it, is there's no team desperate enough to just go all in on a quarterback. I don't see a trade happening. I'd like to be wrong. I'd like to be happily wrong, but I just don't see that as a possibility.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the post-June 1 cut. Like you said, it sucks to eat the money next year. But it keeps you competitive, and you still have a ton of cap space next year. The Minnesota thing is interesting, but I think that Minnesota's better off trying to find the next Daniel Jones, trying to find the next Sam Darnold.
I think
they are trading for assets for a guy that has a huge cap number.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're probably a spot for like Kirk Cousins, because Cousins gets a chance to compete with JJ McCarthy. He gets a chance to potentially start. And it's a 1-year kind of prove it deal. Maybe he gets a second big deal, or he just ends his career in Minnesota. I think that's a far better situation for Minnesota than like, hey man, how much money can we throw at Tua and hope that he solves our problem?
Correct. All right. So Tua's done. I'm going to go with the post June 1 cut. That already looks like it puts us in a decent position.
Yeah. I mean, you're not in a terrible spot now. You can at least function in the offseason.
The next one is Tyreek Hill. I think that this, if you're looking at it, you take the money now and save about $23 million with 28 dead, or you go post June 1, use your other post June 1, you save some more money now, but you have more dead money in 2027. I think, to me, because we're going to get to Chubb and Minka in a little bit, I think that this is a pre-June 1 cut. I think that $23 million in savings is enough that it dampers that a little bit, and you get that Tyreek situation done with now, because you don't want to really start stockpiling that 2027 money.
The way I see it is, if Tua is your post June 1st cut, you should not have another post June 1st cut this year.
I agree.
You should be operating then of like, hey, we're going to eat all the dead cap this year, And the only dead cap we have next year outside of like other cuts and little money that like undrafted guys make or whatever is the money given to Tua. You don't want to put yourself, like you said, in a situation like Chris Greer would have done where it's like, hey, man, here's all this money in the future. We'll figure it out. We'll restructure half of the roster if we have to. I just don't see that as a good situation to be in if you're Miami, because at some point you got to fix the cap.
Like you're taking that big hit on Tua in 2027. Like you said, if that's the only one you have to take, that's lovely. And that's where I think this offseason is going to be a little different for most Dolphin fans, because I think we're not going to do anything that is a gamble for later on the back end of a contract. If there's a guy on a short deal that comes to us that we see as a great fit for what we're doing, great, at a reasonable number, but I don't think we're going to make any bad deals this offseason.
Yeah, I don't see the Dolphins being a team that gives out big contracts unless it's a no-brainer fit. And looking at this free agency class, I don't see a lot of no-brainer fits to help build this roster with like a core piece.
I agree. So are we in agreement pre-June 1 for Tyreek?
Yes.
Okay. The next two players I'm going to talk about in a grouping, that's Bradley Chubb and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Do you think that there's a trade market for both of those players?
I would say there's a better chance that you trade Minkah Fitzpatrick because he was a good player last year. He's not, on the wrong side of 30 yet. He's not like been awful at any point in his career. And I think there will be a market for a safety like him. Bradley Chubb, I think with that money, I just don't see a lot of situations where teams are desperate enough for pass rushers to go after, him and trade valuable picks or trade assets to get him and take on that money. I just don't really foresee a situation where he's traded.
The two spots I thought about for Bradley Chubb, one is Cincinnati if they don't reach an agreement with Trey Hendrickson. But again, Cincinnati doesn't really feel like a team that does that. So
they don't like paying guys.
Right.
So I don't think they're going to take on a contract like that.
And the only other team I see as an option is San Francisco. They're going to have some money this offseason, and they have some needs on the defensive side of the ball. So that's just a spot that I could see potentially working out.
Maybe San Francisco, I think, would be a possibility, but they like to just go young pass rushers in the draft and go bet on trades and stuff. So I think that'd be more so what they do than go after a more proven guy at the age of 30.
So Minkah will hold off on. I'm just going to show the pre-June one and the post-June one there. This is a guy that actually doesn't make terrible if there's going to be a second post-June one that we'll get to in a second, but we'll hold off on him and work on a trade for him. Bradley Chubb, again, you take that dead money there or you split it up. I think that you can't add another $13 million to 2027. So I'm willing to make this just a pre-June 1 cut.
You don't even need to add the money. You can get to a part where you're like playable in free agency by just cutting him. I think that's just a better situation. Bradley
Chubb cut.
Can I propose a different possibility for Minkah Fitzpatrick?
Absolutely.
Why not restructure him? I think that you don't need to restructure him with a void year. You don't have to do any of that. I would argue that if you believe he is a guy who can be a part of this roster for the next 3 years, which I think he can be, as long as he's happy in Miami, which there's been no indications that he's unhappy in Miami, why not build with him as a part of the future? And when I say future, I mean kind of more immediate future, not 5-6 years down the line, but you still kind of want to be competitive in 2027, in 2028. And I think Minkah Fitzpatrick has proven he can be a competitive player. He has some flexibility. He can play slot corner. He can play safety, right? Like, I would argue I think there's a good situation to be in where you restructure him. And
all right.
I would say I probably wouldn't max restructure him, which is what this is. It's a max restructure. You can typically restructure down a little bit more, keep some of that base salary. But I think I'm fine with max restructuring him. I mean, that's up to you, but like, I kind of see a situation where he's a part of the team for the next few years.
Yeah. And I think that if you get to a point where he's definitely in this case, if we're not trading him, to me, he's definitely on this roster for at least this year and next year. So if that's the case, then you might as well add one more year onto it and say if he's that bad that you need to get out of it in 2028, which I don't anticipate him being because of how versatile he is and how much money we're going to have. Also, because of how much the cap is going up, that's not going to look like a bad number in 2028.
Yeah, I think that there's situations where, like, if I'm thinking about this, if we don't want to be a tanking team in 2026, why not keep Minka? Again, as long, like, there's always this factor of, like, he's just not happy. He wants to be competitive in 2026. There's no guarantee the Dolphins are competitive. I think there's a better chance they're not competitive. But as long as he's, like, willing to kind of eat a year, play well, and you know what, we'll figure it out in 2027 and beyond, I'd like to keep him on the roster because I think that you have one safety in Dante Trader who you want to put in a situation where he plays. But other than that, you're going to have a brand new safety room. I don't want to have to get 4 new guys. I'd rather only have to get 2 or 3 new guys.
My one fear with this is that it's all fine and dandy until we're 6 weeks into the season and we're 1-5 or 2-4, and you just restructured him, and now he's asking for a trade.
That's my concern, and maybe for that reason, maybe it's better to just trade him and get younger in the back end. Let's trade him. I think let's figure out a trade. I think there's a possibility that he's on the roster next year, but I don't think it's a bad idea to try and trade him. And if you can get a 4th or a 5th round pick, go get the 5th round pick and hope you can develop it. Safety's the one position where you don't need to go, get a bunch of superstars to build a roster.
Absolutely. So we'll leave him for now. The next one is going to be a funly discussed one. It's the mystery man who I feel like I haven't seen in ages, who's still somehow 26 years old, right tackle Austin Jackson. To cut him pre-June 1st, it's about $14 million dead with $2 million in savings. Post June 1, you see the numbers there.
I don't want to cut him. I think truthfully, I don't want to cut him. I would rather try and rebuild and restructure his value and get to a part where, either he's a part of the core of the team or he's a guy that, we can move on from later. The truth is, right, like, I think the Dolphins have other needs. They have other places where they have to try and get younger. I get it. Austin Jackson hasn't played a lot, but I don't want to be in a position where we're completely rebuilding the right side of the offensive line again. That's just a bad situation to be in. And truthfully, right, like, you called him the mystery man. I'd argue James Daniels is the bigger mystery man.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
But, like, truthfully, I don't think a restructure is a bad idea for him. Again, I'm, like, generally anti-restructure unless he's a core part of your team. And I don't consider Austin Jackson to be a core part of the team with his injury history, but he's already got 3 void years on his contract. Like, you've already built yourself into this situation where you're paying him over 3 years, past when he's a free agent or when he's out of contract. I would just restructure him and admit that, like, hey, we're going to have money in the back end that we have to deal with. But I mean, I think we have enough needs already where I don't want to have to add a need at right tackle.
Well, that's the question is we're a couple periods away from the draft. And one thing I would love to add to this as we're talking about this right after, because you see, we're going cap management, trades, free agency, draft. I wish there was one more, like, finish out your roster tab.
Yeah.
Because you finish the draft and then it's like, there's still that little period in the offseason, but we'll get to that later.
Let me go sign undrafted free agents.
Yeah. Give me undrafted free agents.
Maybe I'm the psychopath who wants to sign
over.
You know what? Honestly, that's my recommendation is let us sign undrafted free agents.
Agreed. We're going to clip that and send it to him. So Austin Jackson, what do we think? The one thing I don't like about the restructure is that I don't like putting a lot of money on the back end. but it's interesting because he does have money on the back end right now.
He's already got money on the back end. He's going to account for $9 million against the cap in 2027 when he's out of contract. If you're already accounting for $10 million in money for a guy who may not be on the roster in 2027, what's another couple million? Like, truthfully, what's another couple million? And yeah, you have to eat that money in like 2028 and stuff, but I'm kind of willing to do it because here's the way I see it, right? If Austin Jackson is good next year and he stays healthy and is a part of your team, because when he's on the field, he's a very solid right tackle. I don't think anyone can argue that. If he's on your roster and he plays well in 2026, then I think you're talking extension. You're talking about him being a guy who you give another 2 years to. At that point, you're going to have a new contract in place. You're going to be in a position where you already have a new contract in place. I just don't think restructuring him is a bad idea. I don't know the full implications of what the cap hit looks like in 2027 or 2028, but I just don't think that's a bad situation to be in if you're Miami, given how much cap space you're going to have in the future. Like, you're going to have a lot of cap space. The cap continues to go up. You're in a position where you can kind of eat the dead money if he's not a part of your roster.
I agree. All right, let's restructure. He has been restructured. Jordan Brooks will leave alone, or do we want to work out an extension?
Extend him. I think at this point, he's one of the best linebackers in football. You would be a fool to not extend him.
What are you thinking?
I've kind of pinpointed 3 years at like 50 million. I think that's kind of like where I think he ends up being. And so not 50 million in new money. I think that's absurd. But I would say he probably ends up in like the $13 million range when he accounts for the fact that there's kind of a rising cap. He's going to be in a position to do that. For context, I'm pulling up over the cap numbers now for linebackers. The highest paid linebacker in football is Fred Warner. He's not getting $21 million a year.
So this is a really cool feature. I don't know if you saw this right in the middle. It shows his range, his projected range, and then shows the linebackers underneath that are getting about that money.
Yeah, I would say I think he probably gets more than Azeez Al-Shaair.
And what did Al-Shaair get?
Al-Shaair is currently on $11.3 million a year. I would say like 13 million is probably a safe range. Maybe he gets a little bit more. But I mean, I don't see him getting like 18, 19 million. If he does, I say you give it to him regardless. I think he's one of the best players in football, or one of the best linebackers in football. So I think you'd be a fool to not add him to the roster. But I would say, yeah, I think 13.3 is like a safe amount for a guy like him.
Cool. And that saves us a little bit of money as well. It saves us about $1 million this year and keeps him on our team. All right. Jordan Brooks, you have been extended. Now it is time for the mystery man.
You have a lot of options here.
Yeah, I think you kind of see what he has, see if he has anything left, and hope for the best.
I mean, if we're saving $0.1 million against the cap, sure, man, you could stay on the roster.
Agreed. A couple, and we'll run through these relatively quickly. I think Jason Sanders gets cut.
The Dolphins were fine with Riley Patterson, who they picked up off the street. They don't need Jason Sanders.
Yeah, and that's almost a $4 million savings. So I think that's something you have to do. Tyrell Dodson, another $3 million savings. I think that $3 million is probably going to get spent replacing him, but I think that he was a very weak point of the defense last year. So I think that $3 million is well worth it.
The only argument I'd say is like he's the green dot. He was the green dot last year, but again, I'd rather either get younger or get someone who has a higher ceiling than Tyrell Dodson.
Maybe he'll end up in Baltimore. Westbrook-Ikhine, do you save the 1.6?
I think you just need him off the roster. I think you're going to end up adding another wide receiver in free agency, but I
now is that one that because it's only $1 million and you're not using that other post June 1, you get an extra 1.2, making it a post June 1.
I no, because I want the 1.6 million now, and again, like post June 1st cuts, you get to wait till June 1st to really use any of that cap space. So,
3 million in savings for Alec Ingold. That's a tough one for me.
I've gone back and forth on this because Bobby Slowick wants to use fullbacks, but he's 29 years old. He's a fullback. I think you cut him. Like, that's kind of where I'm at in general on this, is like, he's a good part of the core. He's a leader. He's a guy who like is a Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate every season. So I think he's a good locker room guy, but I also just think in general, right? Like, I think we can just cut him and get another fullback in
for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, probably.
Are there any others down here as we go down into the little range that you see as get that guy off my roster?
No, I mean, I don't think there's anyone who like is like a must cut now. I think in general, right? Like, you're kind of in a spot where you have cap space to use this offseason, and so I don't foresee another cut option.
All right. We have done the cap management and already went 10 minutes longer than Mr. S asked us to go. All right, trade offers. So these are interesting to me because it's cool to see players get offered to us, but I don't think that we're going to be in a buying players for picks market this offseason.
I think the only way you do it if it's like a 5th or 6th round pick for a young player who you're taking a chance on, but none of these are that. They're all like 3rd round picks for guys. I just don't really see a possibility where that makes sense.
Okay, so we'll go to the build your own trade tool. Do we want to explore that Minka trade?
I feel like we have to. I feel like we've already put ourselves in that possibility, so I might as well explore it.
I like how it does it by rating. You can also do it by salary, position, etc. Salary. Did we say we were trying to trade Chubb as well?
No, I think you. I just don't see a possibility for him.
Okay. Minka. Who are the teams that you think are going to be interested in Minka Fitzpatrick?
Jeez, good question. I don't even know what teams need a safety.
You were supposed to know something.
You're right. I was
the biggest needs.
You're right. I was.
I lobbed that one right to you.
Here, I'll pull up a PFF article and see what teams need safeties.
The Bears, the Cowboys, the Jets, the Bills, the Raiders, the Steelers. The Bears are interesting.
I'm down to trade with the Bears if they're interested.
One thing I like doing is I like going and seeing like what type of picks these guys have. I think the last time I did one of these, I think I actually traded them to Dallas.
Dallas, I could see. I think
the Bears don't have cap space. I think I remember Dallas. Oh no, Dallas does not. But I think we could trade them to them anyways. Bears. What would you like to ask for from the Bears? What pick?
I think you get a 5th for him. Honestly, I don't think you get a ton of value for him.
All right, let's see if we can get the 163rd pick of the draft. They have declined it.
I guess we need to add a. I mean, I'm down to add like a 7th. I know this is a very Madden-like trade to do that, but I mean, if we can get a 5th from, we can get like 177 from Dallas. I'm down to just get 177 from Dallas and walk out of here. Never mind.
We can't do that either.
So I mean, just take 163 and add a pick. I think that's like what you do.
Add 227.
Never mind.
Let's try maybe a 27 5th.
Sure.
It might be the draft we need one anyways. Wow.
Are we not going to get anything for Minka Fitzpatrick? I feel like you'd get a 5th for Minka Fitzpatrick.
Kevin, you told him to make it harder. He made it too hard. I think it might be the cap space. So let's see. Do the Titans need a safety?
Probably not. The Colts need a safety. I don't know if they have cap space. The Jags need a safety.
Colts have cap space.
They have 154.
Oh, you know what? Can we make it a post-June 1 trade?
I mean, we can make it a post-June 1 trade. I think at this point, you're not going for cap space. You're going for picks.
So let's go back to the Bears. If that's the case, let's see if we can get 163 from them now.
I just don't think they want to trade him for a 5th-round pick, which feels, again, a little insane. But
who'd you say the other team was? Jacksonville?
Jacksonville needs one.
Let's try the Colts. The Colts are usually solid trade partners for us.
Can we get 216 for him?
It says this is in range as a post-June 1.
Offer it.
Wow. All right, now I'm going to try to add 227.
Never mind.
Okay, we're going to try next year. Wow, they really just don't want them. If in the offseason you're worried that the Dolphins can't trade Minkah,
well, then we just keep him. I don't think it's a bad idea to just keep him then and trade him at the deadline.
I'm going to just try. Tennessee's the team with the most cap room. I just want to see if
what about 183? It's a little later. No. So I think no team wants him.
Wow, no team wants Minkah Fitzpatrick. Is there anybody else on this team that you would look to trade?
Not really. I just don't really see who else you'd trade.
Do you try to explore the Tua trade?
No, because I don't think there's a spot for him.
Here's an interesting one. Zach Sealer. And I know he just got the big contract. How good of a fit do you think Zach Sealer is for Jeff Hafley's defense?
I think he's a fine fit. I think he's better in a 4-down front, which is what Hafley will likely run a little bit more of. And I think he's better as an attacking player. Again, I don't think he's I think last year was probably more of just a bad year for him than he's beginning to decrease as a player. I just don't really foresee a situation where trading him is the right idea unless you just want to go super young and let those guys battle it out. But I just think that you're better off having a defensive line room of Zach Sealer, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers than kind of using those guys to kind of figure out if you can be competitive in 2027.
So I think we are done with the trading sector if we can't get anything for Minkah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, Minka's the one guy I would trade. But again, I'm also just not against keeping him on the roster. I think that if you're not getting a 5th-round pick for him, I'm not trading him for a 7th.
And that's another thing that I would suggest to possibly add here is similar. You referenced Madden before, kind of the trade finder. So we put in the player that we want to trade. We get the league-wide offers for that player. I know the Browns need a safety. They have a lot of picks. No. All right. We are moving on to free agency. Are you giving Larry Borum $19 million?
No. Larry Borum could go anywhere else.
And this is on this topic an interesting one. Greg Dulcich being in that range is surprising for me.
I don't think he'll get that much money on the open market. I think that is, again, kind of just some of the value. It's hard to calculate value. Anyone who acts like it's really easy to calculate free agency value, that's one of the more difficult things to try and predict. Just in general, I don't think he's getting $13 million on the open market. That would make him, I think, the 6th highest paid tight end. Newsflash, he's not going to be the 6th highest paid tight end next year after one half of the year of good football.
And that's something I wonder if we offer him something down here, he's not going to accept it. What would you say for Dulcich, though, is a reasonable value?
So this is where I like using over the cap. Over the cap has valuations in place. The 2025 valuation for him was 3.7 million. I think it's more likely he probably gets 5 million on the open market, maybe 6 million.
Let's call it 6. 2 years, 3 years.
I think 2 years. I don't think he'd take a third year. I don't think the Dolphins should give him a third year.
I'm going to walk away from this. Or do we force him at that money?
I think we could force him at that money. I think if you're going to argue that he gets paid $13 million on the open market, you are trying to tell me that he is as good a tight end as Mark Andrews or David Njoku. He's not. I don't know, man. He's just not as good as those guys. So I don't see him getting that same amount of money.
We'll do the next two together. What do you think about Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones in that? Jack Jones as low as $4 million, but probably closer to $5 million. And Rasul Douglas in that $5 million, probably closer to $6.5 million.
I would say Rasul Douglas at 32 is probably just not a fit. He's older, right? Like, I just don't really foresee a situation where the Dolphins are getting into the market for a 32-year-old corner. That's a guy who you sign if the plan in 2026 is to compete for a playoff win, which I just don't foresee that as being the possibility. Jack Jones, maybe. If it's 5 million, 6 million, maybe. But I would also kind of like to see who else is out there because I actually don't know what the market is.
So before we look at the market, Kader Kohou.
If it's a 1-year non-guaranteed deal, I think you bring him back and you let him battle it out. But if the plan is that he wants a lot of guaranteed money over multiple years after the injury that he had, he can go try and find that somewhere else. But I think more likely it's like the Nick Needham situation there.
Is there anybody else here as I scroll down that you see as a resign?
There is actually one, and this is because he is an ERFA, and so you are not negotiating against anyone when you try and re-sign him. I would just bring back Ethan Bonner. It's an ERFA deal at 1.3 million. Actually, I can tell you what the exact amount is for the ERFA, which is what you'd sign him at. Give me 1 second for over the capital, but I think it's 1.3. And so I have no issues with giving him $1.3 million. If he's your fifth corner and a special teamer, he's your fifth corner and a special teamer. That's fine money for a fifth corner and a special teamer.
Did you get that number? Are you still looking?
Still loading. Over the cap is slow today.
You hyped it up, man.
I know. Well, so the issue with Over the Cap is it's a website built like it's in the 1980s. So
we'll call it 1.3.
I think it's around that number. If it's 1.4, 1.5, I don't think that'll be a big deal regardless.
What about Cam Good?
Not down to extend Cam Good, but Julian Hill I think is at least interesting. Was he, Jordan, do you think he was bad last year?
I think that he was the least of our problems last year. There's just there's a stench, man.
There's a stench, but I think that stench is more so that we just asked him to be the tight end one on a football team. I don't think that's a stench on the fact that he's not a good football player, because I thought he was a fine blocker last year.
I just don't know if I want to give him close to $3 million.
The RFA deal as a right of first refusal RFA would be $3.5 million.
Personally, I'm not doing that.
Sure, I think we can find someone else to play his role then.
But that's, I think those are the conversations. If this was 2028 or 2029 and we had a good football team, we're like, yeah, we have some money to spend. Let's bring back our guy. I get it. But I think we're in the place right now where we're pinching pennies a little bit. And so I'd like to at least see what else is out there. And I think that there are undrafted guys. I think that there are late round guys that can do what he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can just find another Julian Hill, I guess.
Jake Bailey?
He was pretty damn good last year.
2.5, 3?
If it's $2.5 million, bring him back. You're going to have to pay another punter regardless.
All right, he's back. I'm not. If you want to sign Julian Hill, you want to re-sign Liam?
No, absolutely not. Never in a million years.
You want to give Kendall Lamb $9 million?
I think Kendall Lamb's going to retire.
Willie Gay, KJ Britt.
Dwayne Eskridge would be the only one if you would like him as a returner, but I think Malik Washington can do that. So
Matthew Butler, RFA, $1 million.
Probably not. I think you can get another Matt Butler.
And I think everybody else here, I don't think. Elijah Campbell.
I think you can get another special teams guy there.
Brunskill.
No, I mean, I'd bring back Joe Cardona. You think he was good last year? I'd like to keep as much of that operation in place. Make it a 1-year deal. I don't think we need to give him 2 years. Problem solved. There we go. We have our long snapper for next year.
We don't have a kicker, but we have our punter. And
just bring back Riley Patterson. I think Riley Patterson was fine. I know. I mean, he won't get $4 million on the open market, but
yeah, but I think that was like the low end of the number here.
You could get a kicker on the open market for $1 million, $1.5 million. I mean, you got Riley Patterson for $1 million, $1.5 million.
The first thing you asked to see was the cornerbacks. Here you go. I'll go a little slow so you could see them. I don't think we're going to be in the market for any of these high end guys.
Tariq Woolen would be the only guy I'd consider, but
Eric Stokes is an interesting name just because he was a high pick by the Packers.
But he was also bad. So
I like Greg Newsome.
I like Greg Newsome. I don't like Greg Newsome at $15 million.
Job isn't that. He's going to get paid.
He's going to get paid because he's a Super Bowl winner.
I don't hate Durant.
St. Just I like as a player.
I don't love it that money. I would like more at like 4.5.
$6 million. I think I'd like the most I'm paying for him is like $6 million.
You want to offer him 5 and see what happens?
If he wants to take 5 for 2 years, I'm down to give him 5 for 2 years. But I think it's more likely he kind of laughs in our face. Yeah,
he wants 7.8.
Paying 7.8.
I don't need any of these 30-year-olds.
All right, we can just scroll past the guy from Washington. Next. They're not taking Trayvon Diggs.
Okudah?
I take Okudah for $1.5 million. 1.7 market value. I'm down to just give him market value if he's going to take that.
A year?
Yeah, for a year. I mean, that's a prove-it deal.
He wants 1.7. I'll give him 1.7.
Just force him the okay. That's a weird glitch, I guess. Cam Taylor-Britt, I was looking at that. Sense. But I think this is like effectively what you're doing is you're looking for guys.
Martin Emerson?
Probably not. Caleb Evans, probably not. Kyrie Irving, I don't think played in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think we could stop at about this point. Those are all locked. Do we want to you want to throw $1 million, 1.1, 1.2 at Cam Taylor-Britt?
If Cam Taylor-Britt wants to take $1.5 million, I think I'm fine to try and figure it out.
He wants 2. See, this is where, and talking about his system and what I said before, this is one of those I would like the option to revisit this after the draft.
I mean, I think we can go through the rest of our needs and go see if we need them at the end of it, right? Like, let's see what the cap space looks like once we go over the other needs.
All right, let's start at the top. Obviously, quarterback. I think that there's 2 names. Again, I've gone through this list a decent amount. I think that there are 2 names that make sense. Okay. I think name number 1 is Malik Willis, obviously. I think he's getting a lot more than this number.
The projections I've seen are like $18 million on a 2-year deal. I honestly wouldn't say no to it, just because I think he's a high upside guy, very similar to like Sam Darnold. Maybe not to the same level, but like I think he gives you that same kind of reward possibility. And you're going to need a quarterback. You're not going to run into next year with Quinn Ewers and Cam Miller. That's just not going to be what happens. So
the other name is Joe Flacco.
Pass. He's 41 years old. Just pass.
But I think that if you are not going to sign Malik Willis, because I think he's the only realistic option.
Sign Trey Lance then. Like, if the options are
no, but I think you want a guy back there that's not that you can evaluate the rest of your offense with. And that was why I loved when we brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick years ago, because he allowed you, he was at least to the point that you could evaluate your receivers, running backs, offensive line with stability at the quarterback position.
My only pushback to that would be, what tells you that Joe Flacco can do that?
I don't think his numbers in small spurts were terrible.
Like, the truth is, the Cincinnati
but I also think
offense,
he'd be a good mentor for Quinn Ewers.
I
also feel that way a little bit about Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, I can see the mentor argument, but like, the truth is, Joe Flacco last year had the easiest job in the world of like, hey, just find number one in Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, and throw the ball up to him. He'll probably make a play. The Dolphins don't have Jamar Chase. So
do you think, and this to me is the answer to the question. Okay, it's two parts. And if both answers are yes, then I think we sign Malik Willis. Number one, do you think Malik Willis is that much better than Quinn Ewers?
Yes.
Number two, do you think that we can get Malik Willis on a 2-year deal or less?
Yeah, I mean, I think, what did Baker Mayfield get in Tampa? I think it was a 2-year deal initially, and then he ended up, outplaying that and getting more money in the back end. But like, I think it's possible that he takes like the Sam Darnold deal in Minnesota, where it's a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal. He's going to try and play himself into becoming a valuable starting quarterback. But I just don't see a situation where he asks for a 4-year deal at $17 million, $16 million, which is what I think probably his market ends up being.
It looked like his Tampa deal was originally 1 year, $4 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think Malik Willis probably gets more just because the market has shifted on paying under the radar quarterbacks. Again, like, I think we have to be semi-realistic here and say he's probably not getting $5.7 million on the open market.
Part for me is how high do you want to go with that?
So the evaluations I've seen are around 18 million. I don't think he gets 18 million.
Well, the highest we can give him is 10.
Do you want us to call it even, say 10? I think that's like about the middle of 18 and 5.
Yeah.
He'd be a fool not to accept it.
He's definitely accepting it.
Cool. So now you have your low risk, high reward quarterback. Problem.
And to be fair, now this number is about $8 million off. So we're actually at about 50.
We could just say it's because I think also they back end that deal. If it's a 2-year deal, I think they back end it so where 2027 is just a higher cap hit. And so I'd say, like, hey, like, let's just say
actually, I think it's going to be the other way if we have some money. I think they might front load it just in case he's bad and we draft somebody and need to build around a rookie next year.
Maybe let's just say they back ended a 2-year deal at 18 million. And so the 1-year cap it's 10 million. I think that's just easy.
I don't think we're going to be in the market for a running back.
No, I think you kept Jalen Wright for a reason to kind of just take yourself out of this market.
I think, though, that if they were to, Chris Brooks would be a guy that I could see them bringing back.
Chris Brooks, maybe.
But again, I don't see us in this conversation. Receiver.
I feel like you need another vet that's not expensive.
Yeah, I think we're going to be out of the Dobbs market.
Yeah, Romeo Dobbs makes a lot of sense, but he's going to want too much money.
Like, it's funny because if you could get him for a little bit higher to offset that Malik Willis money, that'd be funny.
You're not taking Keenan Allen. I don't hate Jalen Tolbert.
I don't hate Jalen Tolbert for $3 million compared to these other numbers. I don't hate Tutu, but I think he's just bad.
I think he was like an inactive player for half the year last year.
Kendrick Bourne at a lower number would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the market you're in, right? Is you're looking for a guy like Kendrick Bourne on a 1-year, 2-year deal.
Yes, on a lower deal.
Yeah, like I think this is the market you're in for a receiver, right? You're just looking for another guy who gives you options so that you don't have to go in the draft and spend a 2nd-round pick on a receiver if you don't like the options. And I think that's just kind of like the market you're in general, right? Is you're just looking for dart throws. You're looking for guys who, if they end up developing or end up being valuable pieces, good. If not, no biggie.
I like Zacchaeus at about $3.5 million. I don't want Bourne for 6. I would go Tolbert or Zacchaeus.
Tolbert on a 2-year deal or on a 1-year deal. I think he's 27 years old. If he ends up being something, he ends up being something.
1 year, $3 million.
Sure.
All right,
problem solved.
Tight end.
Well, now we need to get a tight end because we effectively said no to Julian Hill and Darren Waller. Darren Waller, I think, is just a completely different situation.
And I don't think that this tight end class is anything to write home about. So I definitely think we need a tight end one.
Yeah, you're taking a guy who's just going to bridge the gap, I think, to some degree.
This is a guy that speaks to me.
36 years old off an injury, though.
This is more of a guy. Homecoming. I'm not getting back into the Noah Fant conversation.
I'm done trying to talk myself into Noah Fant being a good player. I'm done. I
think we're going to be out of the Isaiah Likely market.
I think you're out of the market of the top 5 guys. Maybe you take Kyle Pitts if there's no market on him, but I think there'll be a market on him.
I'm just looking to see. Kohler's not a bad name, but I think he goes with his guy. Fitzpatrick coming home.
Maybe you take Fitzpatrick. Maybe you take Wiley. I think Fitzpatrick is more like their actual guy, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm looking it up now. I don't think Wiley played.
I also don't think Wiley played.
Fitzpatrick had 12 receptions for 72 yards this past season.
And was drafted by them, no?
I think he was drafted or was undrafted free agent signing by them.
I would give him a 1 year, $2 million if he's going to accept it.
Yeah, Wiley had 1 catch for. Oh no, that was the postseason. Give me 1 second to look up his regular season numbers.
Fitzpatrick wants 1 year, 3.4.
It's the same market as. This isn't right. They're okay. So ESPN is messing up because they were showing me numbers for like AJ McCarron. I don't think AJ McCarron was on their roster last year, guys. Wiley had 5 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. So
but is Wiley more their blocking guy?
I think Wiley was more their blocking guy. There's another guy who's probably on here, Ben Sims, who was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Vikings, was cut, played a little bit in Green Bay as like a special teamer, tight end 3, tight end 4. I generally, like, I'm not against signing 2 tight ends on cheap deals and, maybe trying drafting one in the long run. But I mean, I think if you sign Ben Sims, he's your tight end 4, tight end 3.
Yeah. I do like the idea of giving Fitzpatrick that 3.4 deal
on a 1-year deal.
On
a 1-year deal for 2.5, 3. Like, I think that's fine. It's not going to end up making that big of a dent in the contract. Yeah.
So that's kind of your Julian Hill replacement. What about that tight end 1 position? Do you think we have about $45 million to play with? Really 25 probably. Do you think we go after one of these guys?
And Joke would be the only one, but even at $7 million, I'm just kind of out of it.
Are you in it at 6?
Probably not. I mean, he's 30 years old. Like, I want younger options, truthfully. Like, I think that's where I'm at, is like, I want to take dart throws in free agency.
Like, I would rather, to me, sign a young guy on a smaller deal or an old guy on a small deal than take a shot on a bigger deal at a middle of the road guy.
Yeah, I think you can end up getting a free agent after the draft who you go after and is like the guy there, right? Like, I think that's kind of just the mindset I'm in, is right. Like, if you're taking a guy, it should be a guy that you think you can build around. The only guy there would be Kyle Pitts. I'm not paying Kyle Pitts, though. Like,
All right, so we'll leave tight end. Ben Sims is another guy that I think that there's a chance.
Yeah, if Ben Sims is probably league minimum, $1 million, $1.5 million in real life. So, sure.
Do you think we sign an offensive lineman?
I think you sign a dart throw again, right? You sign another guy who helps give you just depth. Like Cole Strange makes a lot of sense, not at $6 million though, probably.
I think I'm not signing him at this number.
Yeah, I think their offensive line values, I'll just be honest, are probably not what they're going to end up getting. Right? Like, I don't think that Jonah Williams gets $14 million on the open market.
Ryan Bates isn't a bad name.
Rob Havenstein just retired. That's really funny. Yes, Taven Jenkins, if he didn't want $6 million, would make sense in that same kind of realm.
He was the North Dakota State kid, right?
I believe so. Charlie Heck. Ben Barch.
This makes a lot of sense.
I'm down to get Sean Ryan for a year.
1 year, $3 million.
Yeah.
Done.
Problem solved.
To me, I mean, I think we're going to address offensive line in the draft as well. I don't know, especially because you're bringing back Austin Jackson, and you have a lot of guys that are coming back on the roster. I think you kind of skip giving these guys bigger money.
You're just looking for swing guys who maybe play themselves into being starters or play themselves into being guys, but like you're not paying a guy to pay a guy at this point, right? Like
I feel like Braxton Jones is gonna get a little more than
he's going to get a lot more, I think, on the open market. Vidarian Lowe, I'm fine giving Vidarian Lowe $1.3 million to be a tackle option, right? And like that's kind of just the market that I think you're in, right? It's just giving guys money to be a tackle.
I think we're going to.
I think that's the last of like the offense, but that's kind of the market that I think they'll be in. Is you sign guys who are depth piece dart throws, kind of.
Edge.
You need an edge rusher. You need two, probably, honestly, because I don't think you can go to next year with what you've got.
You bring back Quentin Bell. I didn't even see him there.
What does he do? What does Quentin Bell do on this roster?
Takes up space.
He does that really well.
Again, I don't think we're in the market for any of these guys.
The only guy in that top market that I'd give the money to is like a Quiddy Pay, but maybe not at $11.5 million.
Yeah, I don't hate Gross Matos.
Again, not at $10 million though.
Right.
Nico Autry.
AJ Epinesa doesn't makes a decent amount of sense.
Makes sense if it's a 1 year cheaper deal. Odafe Owe, I think, ends up getting re-signed in LA.
I would throw Epinesa $8 million.
What about bringing back Jalen Phillips? Want to right our wrongs?
That's not a bad decision.
I don't think he'd come back. I think after those comments, I don't think he's coming back.
New regime. Kingsley, but that's too much money.
That's a lot of money for Kingsley and Nick Barre.
You bring back Kyle Van Noy? Like, I don't think Javon Clowney's getting 8. I don't think Omenu's getting 10.
Javon Clowney's going to be a 1 year end of the roster guy that gets signed because he wants to go run it back one more year somewhere.
I don't hate Joe Tryon, former first round pick, bigger edge guy.
He produced a little bit early on in Tampa. It's probably not a bad, similarly to like Aziz Ojulari, right? Like just kind of taking dart throws to see if you can get a guy.
David Ojabo. Josh, he wasn't bad. Like I would be okay signing Aziz, Ojabo, and Tryon and bringing in a bunch of cheap guys and seeing
what if you sign Joe Tryon and Ojabo I think that's your dart throws on cheap deals. If they don't end up being anything, you just cut them.
I agree. Let's see if we can get in the get a little lower. Give him 2.7.
Yeah, I'm fine giving him 2.7.
You said Ojabo?
I think Ojabo, 26 years old. He's had some injury history. If he doesn't end up being something, he doesn't end up being something. But you took dart throws, right? Like, I think you're in a spot where you can do that and feel good about it. So
I don't think we're going to sign anybody on the interior defensive line.
The only guy you'd sign is a late, training camp signing.
All right, I'm going to skip that. I do think we need a linebacker.
And you do need a linebacker.
Especially, I mean, these guys are going to be out. But again, I don't think it's one of these guys.
Ivan Pace at $10 million is kind of insane. He didn't do anything last year.
I even think that's too much for Quay Walker.
For the Dolphins, yes. I think Quay Walker's a good player, though.
That's what I mean. I mean for us. It's not a bad number.
No, he's so bad. He is so bad at football. I can't do it. Resign Tyrell Dodson, please. Just resign him.
You want to give Jerome Baker $6 million?
They keep scrolling.
Jamal Adams.
Isaiah Simmons, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's how I found out he's playing linebacker, by the way.
Christian Welch.
Oh, God. Christ.
Devin White. Channing Tindall.
He's back.
You want another Jalen Phillips?
Oh, Jesus.
Asamoah.
He hasn't done anything in his career, but I think that's maybe where you're.
Damone
I think
Clark.
Malcolm Rodriguez is.
Malcolm Rodriguez isn't a bad name there. You want to do that?
Yeah, sign Malcolm Rodriguez.
Cool. And then we already went through corner. Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. I think we signed it up.
And then we didn't trade Minka, so we're not really going to go after.
I mean, I would still sign one. I think you still sign one, just you're not in a market of having to get two in the draft or whatever.
I don't hate Cameron Curl.
Terrell Burgess was bad. Tyson Anderson was bad. I like Alohi Gilman.
I was just looking at that.
He's been a starter in the past. He was traded for Owe. I don't think really did much in Baltimore, but I mean, I think that's
former Packer.
Former Packer for a reason. Killebrew if you want another special teamer.
All right. I got to Jordan Poyer. I had to turn around. We'll sign Gilman. We'll try to give him that same deal.
I'd give Gilman a 2-year deal.
Ooh.
If you can get 2 years at 2.4, I think that's a good place to be. Yeah, problem solved. We did it.
And then there's no kicker spot here, but that's need to get filled in. We're about 10 million higher than we wanted to be. I'm factoring in another 8 for Willis just to call it. And then you said you wanted to be at 20 and we're at about 30.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're in a good spot. Right. Like this is where you start maybe like signing just guys who, again, like the key word for all of this is dart throws. Who are guys who you think can develop into players for you? Because I think that's the market you're in. Maybe you sign 1 or 2 guys on bigger deals, but a lot of the guys that you're signing are going to be guys who end up playing 1 year. You end up taking a 1-year deal on a guy, right? Because I think like Jalen Tolbert and Theo Weiss battle. And that's like a position where one of them maybe turns it around. One of them is maybe a guy for you. I feel like we're missing a tight end on here.
We are. We're missing Dulcich.
Yeah, so Dulcich is on there.
Dulcich is essentially this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've given yourself offensive line dart throws, right? Like Sean Ryan, Vidarian Lowe. I don't think either of them are going to end up being anything special, but maybe one of them develops into something and is a 1-year option for you, right? Like I would probably say like you sign Ben Sims after the draft on a 1 deal, right? And you let him battle it out.
I also like Zach Kuntz.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, right, the idea is that like Zach Kuntz, Jalen Conyers, Ben Sims battle it out, in training camp for a roster spot.
And then this is what our defense looks like. I'm going to update this.
Kind of want to sign one more linebacker looking at this.
Yeah, man.
Bring up the linebackers again. I feel like we got to sign one more.
Let me.
I can't, in good conscience, go into the next year with those linebackers.
God, the corners are bad too.
Did we not sign Cam Taylor-Britt?
Did we? I don't think we did. I think we said we wanted him after the draft.
Give him 2.1. I mean, and then bring up the linebackers. Let's see what I need. One more linebacker to feel good about this. Show me a name. Show me Dragon. Jack Sanborn, no. Kenneth Murray, God, no.
Now you're getting into, do you want to give a guy a bigger contract? Or do you think that that's something we could draft? Be it an Aiden Fisher, be it a Rodriguez, be it
really don't mind DJ Speed. Really, I don't think he gets $6 million though. He started 9 games last year, has 62 tackles.
He won 7.5.
He's not getting 7.5. That's insane. Get out of here. I feel like Devin White played last year, didn't he?
I feel like he did.
Let me check this real quick.
Good.
Devin White had 95 solo tackles, 2.5 sacks. You know what? Take Brian Asamoah.
It's funny. I literally had him pulled up here.
Take Brian Asamoah. He was a former 2nd-round pick.
I loved him coming out.
Maybe he's something. Maybe he's something.
Those are the guys we should be looking at.
Yeah, he hasn't played a lot. It didn't play in Cincinnati. Didn't play a lot on defense in Minnesota. Maybe top 3 is where he ends up being something. And then we'll draft one, I think, as well. I think that's what you end up doing. Yeah.
All right. Feel a little better?
Yeah, I feel a little bit better about this. And then maybe Juju Brents is healthy and is something for you next year.
All right. Everybody's favorite portion. If you've made it this far with us, get ready. For the sake of people's time, we'll run through this quickly. I would assume that we're not going to trade up, but I have thought about a little scenario where, and I'll go through the first 8 at least. They went up for Downs. Where if a guy like Caleb Downs, if you don't sign a safety and move Minka, if a guy like Francis, if a guy like Fano are there, I could see a possibility of moving up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if an edge rusher's there, maybe you take it. But in general, I don't know if you do that unless you really like David Bailey or you really like Ruben Bain. You have the picks where you can trade up a couple spots, though, give up an extra third or whatever, and feel fine about it.
So I've been running these. And one of Mauigoa, Fano, and Downs have been constantly falling to me.
I don't think Mauigoa is going to be there, though. I think Mauigoa,
and I don't think he's going to be there either.
I take Jermon McCoy. He's coming off the ACL injury. That's the biggest question mark. But when he plays,
let me ask you this, because I've been on Mansour Delane more. How can you convince me that Jermon McCoy is going to be medically cleared? Because I don't think we draft him if he's not.
There were some reports that he was practicing throughout the end of the year, just chose not to play because he didn't want to risk anything. But all indications say that he'll be healthy.
To me, it's either somebody falls. I've kind of cooled off on the Keldrick Falk, Sonny Styles. I just don't think it makes sense. I love Sonny Styles as a player. I'm a huge fan. I think we're going to go in a little bit of a different direction. I think it's a guy falling. So in this case, it would be Mauigoa, who I still think is gone by 6, or one of the corners.
I would say Jermon McCoy. Or if you want to take the lane, take the lane.
For the sake of being different. And I know Mr. S will be happier that I took McCoy.
I think his ceiling's also higher. So
I'm going to extend this a little bit just so I can look. We are on the clock at 43.
I don't hate Jake Goldday.
I love Jake Goldday.
I think that's
I'm a big fan.
So
the guys I mostly take here, I take Goldday. I take Tiernan. I think it might be a little too early for a receiver for us.
Yeah, I mean, unless you love Zachariah Branch or Amari Cooper and you think they're wide receiver 1s or whatever, but I don't really
Romello Height is a name I could see us definitely taking.
Concerning, I'd more like Zion Young if we're taking an edge rusher here.
I don't mind Halsey, but we don't totally need a safety at this point. I would go Zion Young, Romello Height, Tiernan, Goldday.
Zion Young.
Or I would also go Chris Johnson if we didn't take a corner.
Yeah, but we took a corner, and so I'm not taking another corner. Also, he's more zone-based. Just kind of have concerns about his athleticism in terms of being able to flip his hips consistently.
Goldday,
sure. So now you need an edge rusher, which there's still some guys I like. So
and one of them just went. All right, so
another one's still on the board, and Brett would be happy that I said that.
McCoy and Goldday are the pick so far. Let's update the depth chart. Oh, they're not there yet.
Yeah, I don't think you can do it like that.
I tried to give them credit. To me, I think it's obvious it's Elijah Surratt, but I also think that Elijah Surratt's going to be gone by 75.
I think there are receivers I like in round 4, round 5. Like that's kind of what I think in general.
Thoughts here?
No. We just signed Malik Willis to kind of get ourselves out of that race.
Thoughts here?
No.
Do you think that's even going to be a conversation?
No. If you signed Malik Willis, that's because you didn't want to take a quarterback on day 2.
Other guys I don't mind. I don't mind Austin Barber. I think he's versatile. I think he can play right tackle. I think he can play guard. I don't mind Malachi Fields.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Malachi Fields. I don't mind Grayson Holton as a 3 tech. I don't mind Danny Dennis Sutton.
I don't mind Danny Dennis Sutton at all. I don't mind Jake Slaughter.
Can he play guard, though? He has to play guard.
He does have to play guard.
But see, that's like the Ted Hurst, Skylar Bell. That's why I don't want to take a receiver here. There's still receivers I like. Brennan Thompson's a deep threat. Derek Moore, I think, is kind of just a different profile at edge. I think he at least gives you that explosiveness. You know, maybe there's some questions about build, but I think he's got fine build. Also, what are the other edge rushers after him, right? Like what's the drop off after him? Part of me thinks you got to take one now.
I'm just looking back for a second. I mean, that's where like a guy like Mason.
Yeah, like maybe you take our Mason Thomas looking back at it. I think Goldday, though, fills a need. And so I think that's why you took him.
I was just playing devil's or playing.
Or like maybe you hope and wait for Danny Dennis Sutton, but I don't really want to do that.
I mean, you pick again twice, 87 and 90. So really, it's who do you want more? Do you love Derek Moore?
I like Derek Moore a lot. Like, truthfully, I do. And I think you can get other receivers, which would be the only argument I think for it.
That little run of quarterbacks happened.
We
could still get Malachi Fields. We could still get Sutton.
Or do you take Jacob Rodriguez? Do you love your linebacker room enough where you don't take Rodriguez?
Well, do you add him and Goldday?
That's the question mark there is, do you want to add 2 linebackers? I don't think they fill the same role, though. So I think there's a possibility that you do so.
I mean, you also brought in Malcolm Rodriguez. You brought in Brian Asamoah.
Those are dart throws, though. Like, I think those are just so you fill the need so you don't have to take a linebacker if you don't love the linebacker. I like Jacob Rodriguez a lot. I wouldn't be against doubling up on linebacker. Also, wouldn't be against doubling up on corner or like doubling up on another position. I think you can definitely do that.
And you see me keep going back here because I'm almost regretting. I love Gold Day, but I'm almost regretting this pick right now.
My question there would be why? Because you don't think that you can play Goldhay and Rodriguez?
I do, but I also don't. I also think there are a lot of other needs, and I think that
But I would say we filled a lot of those needs, right? Like, the truth is, right? Like, what are the other needs that I feel like you have to take now? Is it It's receiver. There's still receivers I like.
I think you need another offensive lineman.
You need another one. Who are the offensive linemen on the board right now? I like Trey Zoon. Trey Zoon's good.
I love Brian Parker.
Brian Parker, though, is going to be a center at the next level. That's kind of the issue. Is like, are you
Keelan Rutledge?
Center? Keelan Rutledge. I think you could go receiver, offensive line here, and feel good about it.
We have 2 picks in the next 4, so
that's why I said you go wide receiver here, offensive lineman next, or offensive lineman here, wide receiver next.
So let me ask you this, because I think we both like Fields, Hurst, and Bell here.
What's our next pick after 90? I don't even remember.
111.
What do you feel about waiting on receiver? What are the receivers available? Just receivers. There's still like 5 guys I like. I like Bryce Lance a lot. I like Dazon Stribling a lot. I like Chase Roberts. Reggie Virgil. There's still receivers I like, man.
I like Josh Cameron. Josh Cameron to me is like if you love Chris Bell and miss Chris Bell, look at Josh Cameron.
Looking at the receiver room, I almost feel like you don't take Malachi Fields and you go Jacob Rodriguez and edge, or Jacob Rodriguez and tackle.
I'm okay with that.
None of the tackles went, so now you get your pick of tackle. I would say Trey Zoon or Keelan Rutledge. I kind of like Zoon more, I think, though.
I think Zoon has a little more versatility. Potentially.
Also, I would rather take the offensive tackle and hope he hits than taking the guard, I think.
Zoon. There's that little run on receivers.
Keelan Rutledge is still there. That's actually kind of funny. I would say it's Eric Rivers, Cameron, Bryce Lance, or Dazon Stribling.
I'm a Cameron guy. I just love the way he runs. But I know that a lot of people are very high on Bryce Lance. You're going to have the obvious Christian Watson draft comparison, I think, for the Dolphins. So I'm totally cool with either Lance or Cameron.
It's up to you. I'm good with either. You love Cameron, take Cameron. Let's do it.
Let's be different.
Now I think this is where that kind of wait starts. I think you do have to wait a little bit here.
Yeah, I think we are in the 140 and then
it's
a
actually
220.
Not a bad spot. Now I feel like you take the best player that you just like in general.
I love Lewis Moore. I think he's a guy. I think I like Max Llewellyn. If you want to double up that position, I don't mind a tight end here.
I just don't love the tight end class in general.
If you didn't take Jacob Rodriguez, I love Aiden Fisher.
This is where you take Aiden Fisher, yeah. Maybe you take Sawyer Robertson. I'm just kind of out on Sawyer Robertson, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I went back and watched a lot of film. I don't love his throwing motion. He has a very long throwing motion.
This is like maybe where you take another edge rusher if you just love one of the guys, but I don't really love any of them. I would say just thinking in terms of like where I want this dart throw to be, because this is like kind of what you're doing. I would say tight end or corner / safety. I think, or edge rusher if you love one of the edge rushers, but I don't really love any of the edge rushers.
And I'm personally, I'm not a Taylor Green fan either.
No, I'm not either. I think he's bad.
I don't mind Daquan Wright.
Dallin Bentley is good. Eli Raridan is solid.
He has the profile of a guy the Packers take late in the draft. I know a lot of people like Roush.
What are the other tight ends available after like Nowarski? I like Tanner Kozel. I like Gillenberg.
I like Gillenberg.
I really like Seydou Traore. He's not a typical tight end. He's more of like a big slot, like Jonnu Smith build. Bauer Sharp had a good Shrine Bowl. I almost think there are some tight ends I still like on the board.
Yeah, I like those guys more than these. You said you wanted to go to corner?
Corner/safety. I think you can look at either of them.
I love Lewis Moore, man.
I like Lewis Moore. I like VJ Payne as a bigger safety.
The thing I like about Lewis Moore is I think that I might be wrong, but I think he's like 24, 25. He's an older player. And I think that late in the draft here, especially in this rebuild, you're going to need a couple of guys in this range to play.
Lewis Moore is 25. He'll be 26 his second year in the league.
But I think that as a 7th round pick, if you can, was this a 5th round pick, 6th round pick? I think if you're telling me that I'm going to get 5-6 years out of a guy, like I'm going to take that.
I also like VJ Payne a lot. I think he's 6.
I know you're a Kansas State guy. I like Charles Demings too.
Charles Demings, Robert Spears-Jennings, a special teamer.
I would go VJ Payne for you.
VJ Payne or Charles Deming. If you want to take it, I honestly don't mind taking another corner. What's the downside of taking another corner? Done. Yeah, exactly. What's the downside of it? That they develop and that you have more corners than you need? Oh, no.
Is Sawyer Robertson just not going to go because we talked badly about him?
Good.
He didn't go.
That's really funny.
You also like Spears Jenkins here. A name that I'm going to throw out, and I'm going to try to find him just so I don't butcher his name if he didn't go yet. But the edge rusher from Boston College. There are like 4 or 5 guys.
Quintavious Hutchins.
Yes, there are 4 or 5 guys in this draft. Jude Bowery, Logan Taylor, I believe.
Taylor, Quintavious Hutchins, and there's one more, I think. The receiver, Lewis Bond.
Yeah.
He's just undersized.
Those were guys that were recruited, I believe, by Jeff Hafley.
They played under Hafley in Boston College for at least a year. Lewis Bond was there for a few years under him.
So those are guys that, like, especially when you're looking on day 3, like those are guys that to me make a decent amount of sense. But none are here. I'm down to look at one of these tight ends.
I don't want to take Sam Roush because he's not going to be there. That's right.
I fall into that too. I don't mind Kozel.
I don't mind taking a bet on Kozel or John Michael Gillenberg and hoping that one of them is developed. I think they're both developmental options and probably not day 1 starters at tight end. But again, right? Like, do you need a day 1 starter with Greg Dulcich? Can you afford to take a guy like Tanner Kozel or John Michael Gillenberg?
Do you have a preference
that they develop? I take Kozel because he's 6'7". I like betting on height, weight, speed. I think late in the draft.
Done. Let's look and see what we've done, my friend. Let's wait for the end result. Offseason grade a B+. And love our future outlook.
They always do that with future outlook. I think that's because you cut Tua, and so that's kind of the issue of like cutting Tua. I think in general is it's not going to be favorable to the future outlook. I will say I don't think the future outlook is that bad, even if you cut Tua. But
oh well,
I would say you start Josh Cameron over Tolbert.
It's weird because the tight ends got cut off here. We still have 2 more guys on the roster.
Yeah, you'd have Greg Dulcich, who's not on there,
and we have the guy we signed.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick. Can you change the 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end? That's not something you can change. Yeah, there's just some guys cut off. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean that offensive line looks more promising than what you had.
Agreed.
I mean, they're all dart throws, but kind of like the dart throws you took a chance on.
And really, it's really going to be this when healthy.
No, I think Jonas Savaiinaea starts
over James Daniels.
Yeah, I think it'd be Sean Ryan or James Daniels.
More like that.
That's what I think it'd be more like.
I'm going to see if, without messing it up, how do I
don't think you can.
I wish I could figure out. Yeah. So just so people know, this is Greg Dulcich. This is what's his first name?
Fitzpatrick.
John Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
We can
We'll power of Photoshop, whatever. They'll really poorly edited this to put them both on the roster.
I'll have Carpet Dinosaur do it.
As he breaks the news of who the next Dolphins quarterback coach is.
Put him here. Put him here. Probably put him here.
Yeah, and then Ojabo and McClendon. Yeah.
Probably there.
I would say Golday at strong side, and then Jacob Rodriguez there, and then Malcolm Rodriguez and Brian Asamoah just battle it out for that Willie Gay spot in the roster. I am actually a big fan of this cornerback room.
Yeah, that corner room came out nice.
Just because, like, again, it's dart throws. It's guys who you just don't really know a lot about in terms of like Cam Taylor, Brett Okuda. Maybe one of them is good. Maybe one of them ends up being something. But you also have like Charles Demings, who's an athletic freak, who's going to test really well. You have Jermon McCoy, who's going to be a starter. You still have Jason Marshall, who I thought was better at the end of the year.
So do I.
Storm Duck, hey, maybe he develops. Probably not, but maybe. Juju Brents, maybe. You still need a safety. I think this is where you just end up signing someone after the preseason starts.
Well, guys, that is the team. We won't show you the special teams because that's still work to be done.
Incomplete. There's no kicker.
It is incomplete. And we still have about $25 million in cap space, so a little more than what you had originally wanted.
Yeah.
There's proof that we got Fitzpatrick. There's proof that we had Dulcich.
Yeah, I like the offseason. I actually really like the offseason.
Yeah, it's nice. So we're gonna get that out. We're gonna blast that out, and please like and subscribe. Please go use StickToTheModel.com. As you saw, it's very in depth, and excuse me, that's more in depth than it was when I used it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, like everything about it is improved from a week ago when I used it the first time. And I was like, I like it, but there are still some issues. What he's done in a week is incredibly impressive. What he does in 2-3 weeks when free agency starts in early March, I think it's just going to be better.
Absolutely. On that note, Mr. S told me to record for about 20 minutes, and we're now at an hour and 32 minutes. So for that, for Kevin, for Brett, wherever he may be, and for Jordan, this is the list. Thank you for making it to the end of this.